So I decided to weigh in my opinion with the Jenk Uygur Sabby Sabs debate. Now, I found the conversation to be very engaging. There are some moments where I do have to raise an eyebrow with Jenk Uygur. Now, many of you have said, well, gee, Kit, maybe you shouldn't be talking about TYT. Well, there's a reason why I am, okay? It's for all of us to be made aware of where things went wrong with not only independent media, but with the progressive movement, okay? And I mentioned this with Matt Weinglass on his live stream yesterday. I also mentioned this with Due Dissidents and RBN and Nico House, especially on the Post Duopoly show the day before yesterday. And that is, I see a scenario in which AOC, Bernie Sanders by proxy, are trying to set up a second progressive wave, capturing the lightning in the bottle kind of moment for what could lay in store for us for 2028. And the thing is, I remember 2016. I think a lot of us were taken aback by the Bernie Sanders movement. TYT was able to capitalize on it, and there was no real critical thinking into calling out Bernie Sanders in the past. There was only a handful of people doing so, and especially even in 2020. And we have to look at where we're at, why things went the way they are, and how we can avoid them in the future. So I found this debate to be very engaging. I liked, one question in particular, and that is building a coalition on the left, because there was a rare golden opportunity. This isn't open for debate. There was a rare golden opportunity in 2021 in which the progressive independent movement really could have made a huge change, and that was with Force to Vote. Because just to be clear, there was a point where Jenk and even Sam Cedar and so many others were on board with the concept of Force to Vote. And no, Force to Vote was not a Jimmy Dore idea. It's from DSA. It's from the DSA playbook. We even broke that down way back when Force to Vote was happening, especially in its early stages. I also want to address the fact that Force to Vote is an extremely effective strategy, as it was proven by none other than former Representative Matt Gaetz. So he showed that the concept does work. What a miracle would be if actually the 15 congressmen and women actually did follow through with it, and we were all united to actually follow through with Force to Vote. Keeping our powder dry was never a smart strategy. So I want to pull up this video here. And, just weigh in. I want to play a little bit of it just so that all of us can see it. So shout out again to Sabrina, Sabby Sabs, interviewing Jenk. She has infinite patience. And when I say somebody's better than me, I mean it. Sabrina, 10 out of 10.
I understand some of this. Some people believe that this is a business decision that you have made, because I think we both know that there is more leverage, and YouTube highly promotes right-wing commentary over left commentary. Some people have that opinion. One of the things that I said is that it sounds like to me that Jenk and Anna have decided that they need to try to get some type of a win, because it's been almost 10 years now since the first Bernie Sanders presidential campaign. But a number of things have happened. I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Some of the co-hosts or contributors of TYT have left TYT. I know that Francesca recently was fired. And I'm noticing a little bit of a pattern. This is something similar to what I saw with the Hill Rising, where Kim Iverson was there. Well, first Crystal and Sagar left, then Ryan Grimm came, then Kim Iverson came, Brianna Joy Gray came, Katie Halper was a contributor, and all of them are gone, right? They didn't want Kim there because of the pandemic conversation with Fauci. They didn't want Katie Halper there because of...
Shout out also to Sabrina's moderators who were able to capture Hardlands media asking the big question
of her commentary on Israel. Brianna Joy Gray got fired because of Israel. And now I look at Rising today and I'm like, wow, they really got rid of a lot of the good talent. What is happening there with...
And I will say, as somebody who used to watch The Hill Rising, it has fallen drastically, massively. I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at there, but man, I missed it when Brianna Joy Gray and Robbie would be yelling at each other. I mean, that was good fun. It's like the people there running the Hill don't know good TV, but okay, whatever. Getting rid of Kim Iverson, bad move. Getting rid of everybody was just a dumb move. It was very stupid indeed.
with TYT. Has TYT changed its values?
No, not at all.
Katzenberg cash begs to differ.
So there's a number of things in there that are I don't think are quite right in the assumptions that you put in there. So let me address it one by one. First of all, I get why people think, hey, are you guys doing it for? Is there a right wing turn, and is it for financial reasons? Well, and why do people think that? Because other people have done it, and then they've gotten rewarded, like Dave Rubin, with tons of money showered from the right wing, etc. But except in our case, that's not true at all, because A, we haven't made the right wing turn. So there's nothing to shower, right? So like if you watch our videos or our live show, which by the way, every day, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 o'clock, you can see it with your own eyes. And if you see us being like right wing, you could be like, aha, I knew it. There it is, right? They're telling me how wonderful Donald Trump is on tax cuts for the rich or whatever lunatic thing he came up with yesterday, right? Or if you see it and you go, wait a minute, these guys are saying the same thing they said before. Anyway, you'll get to see it with your own eyes. It's on every day on YouTube at 6 o'clock Eastern, right? And so that's not true. And then in terms of did we do it for attention or money, etc.? No, and we knew this because we're professionals. We know the algorithms, right? So no, we knew that it might hurt us, and it did. On the main channel, our views are way down, and so our opponents can celebrate.
Now, listen. First of all, there's reason why the views are way down. Okay, breaking this down, TYT in 2016 had a huge momentum boost in growth, especially with the Katzenberg cash. Now, we here at Hardlands Media, we have done our fair share of interviews back in the day, okay? And I remember a lot of interviews in which we did with Jimmy Dore, especially at the height when TYT was starting to smear him, go after him, attack him. It was not a good time, believe you me, definitely not a good time. I mean, most notably, I just want to pull this up here because, Jenk is talking about the decline in views. I just want to pull this up here, okay? First of all, this was an interview that we did with Jimmy Dore way back in the day. This was 4 years ago, talking about TYT and everything else. And, there was a change. And in that interview, Jimmy was telling us, how the environment was changing after the 2016 election cycle and how viewers were upset and how they were covering nothing but Trump. The reason why the views are going down is also because there's been a lack of consistency from TYT. Now, granted, they're still getting in views, but the environment has changed. There was a point when they used to be the only big game in town. I mean, 2010's YouTube was the Wild West. Dare I say it? Some could say it was the golden era of YouTube. A lot has changed with the algorithm. A lot has changed with people's watching perspectives. And also people have formed their own opinions. I mean, we remember what happened during the 2016 primary and how Bernie Sanders was denied the nomination, but yet he allowed it to happen. We saw the same thing play out in 2020. And of course, when you're telling people that if they don't support Hillary, if they don't support Biden, if they don't support Biden getting reelected or Kamala, that they're bad people, that they're right wing. I mean, you partook into censorship and suppression and going after people, Jenk. I mean, forced to vote could have been that rare opportunity where, hey, bygones be bygones, water under the bridge, we could have a fresh new start, a clean slate. But that's not what happened.
Ooh, yay, we got him, etc. And so, but you can't say, hey, we got them and they've lost a lot of money here and they did it for the money. Those two things are not consistent. They just aren't. So pick one, okay? But you can't have both. So there's no extra money at all, and there is no right-wing shift. At the same time, and by the way, let me, and so I'll get to what I think people think are the shift in a second. But in terms of what you said about YouTube favors right-wing content and stuff, it doesn't. In my opinion, it rewards, we know this, like anybody on YouTube knows this, it rewards quote unquote consistency, right? And what consistency means is just give them what they want and don't give them anything else. And what I have a different word for that, is called extremism, right?
No, no, no. There is an algorithm. There is a system of favoritism. I mean, Twitch has it. I mean, it's always there. Now, yes, consistency is key for YouTube, especially if you get in this business. But that means also you got to be careful, what you're serving at your restaurant too on your channel. And a lot of channels, not just independent media, have dealt with the jackboot. I have seen larger channels, especially in these last months right now. So I'm going to include December, January, February, and March. During that 4 months time frame, I saw a lot of larger channels that are not even independent media talk about how they've been consistent with their content, but yet viewers are not being notified when they go live, when they upload content, when they post anything, and there's been a massive dip. Now, of course, 2024 was an election cycle. Yes. Also, there was the holidays to factor in, but a lot of big channels are getting gut checked, and wrongly so. And you'd be surprised what kind of channels are being hit. It's just not only political commentary channels, it's everyone. No matter where they might stand politically, there has been a very interesting, deep, reverse in regards to what's happening to people's subscribers and when they get notified, because you, our viewing audience, need to know this, because when we do content, we upload, we go live every Monday through Friday. That's consistency. But there's a system in place that Jenk is neglecting to talk about, and that is how the censorship, how there's also favoritism, and automation and AI playing a role. Because at the end of the day, you, the viewing audience, are going to be sheep herded into things that the algorithms think is okay for you to watch. Yes, there's consistency. Yes, all of you have viewing habits, but there are programs put in place to make you believe that your own thoughts or your own watching, like you're going to want to watch this and not see anything different. That's what's happening. And that's something that Jenk is neglecting to bring up.
So our side says, okay, never give an inch, because the algorithm rewards consistency / extremism, right? So we're right about everything, and whatever is the outer edge of the left or the right, and then applies equally to both sides, right? Give them the outer edge, because that's what people want. And if anybody varies from that, attack, right? The others do. And so if you're not perfectly consistent, you'll get hurt. But we took that risk anyway. And so I'll get to what does it mean to not be consistent in what we were doing before in a second. But you see channels that go, yeah, the Democrats are great. They're the greatest thing ever. Donald Trump's the most evil thing, et cetera, et cetera. Those are actually now getting massive views, massive. That's actually going for the money.
Not necessarily. It has a shelf life. All of that has a shelf life. I mean, there are certain videos that will stand the test of time and still get views because they are very relevant, or either that the algorithm has favored it as much to where people will be directed to watch it. I mean, these are things that will happen. But it's far more different. See, the YouTube game, it's always evolving, and that goes for any social media platform. He should know this.
That no nuance, no nothing. I don't care about policy. Rah Democrats, no matter how corporate they are, no matter how much they never deliver for you, those folks don't care about policy. They care about how do I get views and how do I get money, right? So, and look, I'm not hating. Everybody's doing their own thing. And the same is true of the radical right. They've actually been
doing... Jenk, you've always, whenever you've been quote unquote proven right, you give yourself a Roman triumph.
Doing it longer in a sense on YouTube. That's why it appears that there's all these big shows that are on the right wing, but they're consistently going more and more radical, and their algorithm is rewarding. So it's rewarding radicalism on both sides. And it's not rewarding any moderation at all. So what is the change that people are talking about? So in the past, as I said earlier, Sabby, I did a lot of yelling at the right wing, right? And so I've done that a billion times. What is different now is something that's an actual realization. It's important to our political strategy. It's important for us in order to win, to actually effectuate these policies. But it's also just true, right? What I realized, especially when I went on the right-wing shows and started interacting with the right wing more, is this is not the same audience as before. Before, I would get nothing but talking points. Now these guys are giving me 70% talking points. but 30% they're all over the board in a way that I didn't expect and never saw before. So I try to figure out what's going on. Why is this happening? And what I realize is they're not just watching Fox News anymore. They're watching Rogan and Theo Von, even though he's not that political, and Tim Pool, and all these different outlets, right? And all those outlets have slightly different points of view on different topics. Some, for example, are in the old school of right wing. Let's do whatever Israel wants. Let's attack Iran. Let's start more wars. Let's give endless money to Israel. Others are in the camp of, no, I'm not interested in giving any more money to Israel. And I'm definitely not interested in fighting their wars for them. So hence, now I'm starting to see, okay, wait, it's the media that's driving their opinions. Whatever media they're watching is what's driving their opinions, which makes sense, right? And now they have more diverse media, and you might disagree with a lot of what's in that media, or certainly the great majority of it, but at least it's a little bit different, right? So what I took away from that is, and there's one other factor, which is the Democratic side, which I'll get to in a second. Oh, wait a minute. These folks, and we partly already knew this, but it really reinforced it for me. These folks, they got lied to. They genuinely believe that Trump is anti-war. They genuinely believe that Trump is populist. It's not like they're thinking, we'll trick the liberals.
Jenk is rambling on. He forgot his point. You see, the thing is, but he's also talking about right wing, but is he going to be talking about left? Like people on the left, you know, would he ever consider working alongside maybe with Jimmy Dore or anybody else? Would he consider that? Not to mention, folks, you know, TYT has been having some beef with Majority Report and the Vanguard. And if we just go back to 2021, Vanguard and Majority Report were with TYT, especially going after Jimmy Dore. I mean, it's interesting seeing the infighting and also what's happening with talent leaving TYT. I mean, there is a big shift. It's, as Daniel once pointed out, especially in 2021, that the leftist movement is cannibalizing itself. And we are seeing it again play out even in 2025, because now the whole entire landscape has changed. We look at the media, we look at CNN and MSNBC, they are going belly up. They are in the red. We're looking at Hollywood going in the red. We're looking at major institutions that once had authoritative power for the past 8 years fail miserably. And in turn, people that have been calling it out, especially progressives and independents, and yes, even those on the right who were once viewed as pariahs and villains, we've been proven correct. It's just now 8 years later in the game, everybody else who had all the power and all the figgy pudding, especially on YouTube or any other social media platform, are now like, oh yeah, that's it, but we still don't want to work with these guys. You see, it's still the info, and this is where I'm saying the groundwork is slowly being laid out for the next new wave, possibly the next TYT, to start hyping up AOC 2028. I want to be wrong about this. Maybe I'm sounding paranoid. Maybe I'm sounding crazy, but you know what? I see it happening. I see the groundwork, and there is a scenario in which it can very well play out, where everything that's going to go down in 2028 might feel feel familiar and similar to what you felt in 2016. I hope I'm wrong.
Liberals, and we'll pretend to be anti-war, we'll pretend to be for the average American, and then when Trump gets in, we'll serve the rich and we'll start endless wars. Some of them might think that, but I don't think that's a large number. I think a lot of them really believe that Trump was going to do those things, but he's not going to. You and I know he's not going to do those things, right? On war, again, his base might push him in a certain direction. So then I realized it's not the voters' fault, it's the leaders' fault. So then you look at the Democratic side. And so many people believe that Joe Biden was young and dynamic on our side. And they would get really upset if you said that he wasn't and he was in mental decline. They'd get super mad at you, but not just mad at you. They really believed it with all their hearts, that Joe Biden had no mental decline issues at all. He's the best candidate we could have against Trump. Now, is that because they're bad people? No, of course not, right? They got lied to by MSNBC and the others that told them that Biden was young and dynamic, and they believed it. So the conclusion I came away from is, don't blame the voters. Attack the powerful, attack the institutions and the elites in the cases that you need to, but don't blame the voters. Try to win over the voters. The voters, and Sammy, there's a reason why
Sabby, I'm noticing Sabby's blinking a lot. SOS. We see you. Blink twice if you want us to help you.
Things are called a wedge issue, right? Because they try to drive a wedge between us. And why do they do that? They want us fighting on those wedge issues so we don't unite on taxes and war and all these things that the great majority of Americans actually agree with. So that's the sense that people have that we've quote unquote changed, is that sense of I'm not yelling at the Trump voters anymore. I'm yelling at Trump. And I'm telling the Trump voters, remember, guys, here's the things we agree on. Here's the things we disagree on. And on the things we agree on, now you're seeing with your own eyes, he's not delivering. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
I understand that. I think that there's a lot of frustration right now. I was just at Harvard Law School, and I can tell you the students are very down. They said the Democratic Party isn't fighting. They said both parties are owned by Wall Street. They said, what's the point when you can just buy elections? Very down, very disappointed. And that brings me to the Democratic Party. I personally, because of the big money interest, I don't believe the Democratic Party can change. I supported Bernie twice, both times. I supported the squad. They let me down tremendously when it came to certain pieces of legislation that they either supported or they should have supported and they did not. I'm very upset with the fact that Bernie Sanders still won't call what's happening in Gaza genocide. I was upset with AOC saying that Kamala Harris is working tirelessly for a ceasefire. There are a number of issues. I know you said you wanted to build a coalition with people on the right that agree with you on certain issues, but I have to ask, it seems like you're not willing to build a coalition with people to your left, right? So I think I'm to your left, meaning that I support.
So would you do a sit down and maybe speak with Jimmy or everybody else? Because it's one of these things where you have to come to terms of, all right, like you're 8 years late. But see, even then it's sort of toxic because even TYT is struggling. It's a ship that's sinking due to its own hubris.
Support some things that I know you don't support. Like I support defunding the police. I know you don't support that. But why not build a coalition with those people? Because what I think, because I don't believe that the Democratic Party is going to change because of the big money interests, I really think we should be using this time to try to build up the Green Party or a third party. Chris Smalls is starting a Labor Party. Chris Smalls is traveling across the country, engaging with people about how we can have a general strike in this country. I think that's where the energy should be going. And I really thought that, especially with the genocide, that more people would see this like, oh my God, both these parties are warmongers. Both these parties are owned. And I want to get your perception about that, because the Democratic Party has let a lot of us down. And I'm curious what you think about building that coalition with people to the left of you and the third party movement.
Yeah. So that's another great question. And I think there's two different issues in there. So one is building a coalition with the left, and the other is a third party, right? And so is that the right way to build a coalition, right? So do I want to build a coalition with the left? Of course, I am the left, right? I don't mean I'm exclusively the left. I mean that if you watch our show on any given day, you'll see it's totally on the left, right? And so I know for some that say, nah, it's not enough. It's not enough. You have to agree with me 100%. So, for example, you and I apparently don't agree on the framing of defund the police. I think it's terrible framing. I think police reform is desperately needed, but you're less likely to get police reform if you call it defund the police. So we can get into that debate. But do I want you and I to vote together in an election? Absolutely. Of course.
Now, hold on. Let's talk about voting together in an election, because Grape and Time brings up a good point. Jenk is acting more nice than usual because he's worried TYT is done for. This is so obvious. The answer is yeah. Look, people's viewing habits change, and not to mention TYT was doing a lot of cheerleading for Biden and Kamala. I mean, I remember this, okay? And it's interesting to see now at the end of it all, and I'm breathing in and out because I'm frustrated by all of this, is that they were warned about this by Jimmy. They were warned about this by a lot of people. They were warned so much, and yet they thought they knew better. All right. And that has really been a huge hit to the progressive movement. I mean, TYT did play a role in dividing people, going after each other. That these are obvious facts, and not to mention carrying water for the Democrats in 2020. No, better yet, after the 2016 Democrat primary, where they went on board for Hillary, then of course with Joe Biden in 2020. Now they were saying they were for Bernie Sanders, but even then, after soon as Bernie Sanders cucked out, they were all in for Joe Biden. Especially even then after the midterm election cycle, and then even going for the 2024 election cycle, where even Jenk had the audacity of running in the Democrat Party, which he could not have successfully done anyways because he's not a natural born citizen. Okay, say whatever you will about the system. I mean, the system is the system. Not to mention, to add in the other insult to injury, the Democratic primary is a private institution. When the Democrat higher elite, the high echelon leadership, the big money bag people decide who they want as their nominee, guess what? The super delegates will fall in line, the donors will fall in line, and in turn, they'll sheep herd the voters to fall in line because the voters don't matter because the super delegates supersede everything. And yet this guy has a big brain idea of voting and working together. Then fine, let's talk about third parties. But oh, wait, that's always been dismissed by TYT. Talking about building a left coalition, any opportunity in which a tree branch was given, a branch of peace, the peace dove, any kind of peace pipe or anything of that nature, it was tossed away, knocked out of the hand. And he says, like, yes, we should vote together. But I remember a lot of the browbeating and the yelling. We got to keep our powder dry, hold Biden's feet to the fire. We could push him left. How did that work out? How did standing against forced to vote work out, or the March for Medicare for All, or the 3-day General Strike Summit meeting that happened in 2021? How did the $15 minimum wage fight play out in 2021? Those are 4 examples in which the Democrats gave us the middle finger, as did TYT, being critical to asking the squad to fight. The squad doesn't even show up on Jenk's show anymore. They haven't done so in quite some time. It says a lot about respect. It also says a lot about consistency. Jenk is talking about this, but there is a whole system in place for censorship and suppression. And there was a point where I recall TYT was cheering that on for people to be deplatformed, to be demonetized, to be removed, or to be censored, or to be dismissed, or to be attacked. I remember that. Now, he is shockingly nice in here, and I encourage everyone to check out the full interview on Sabrina's show. But I want everyone to just take away, just to take this away. Remember, independent media's job, our job, is to have all of you critically challenge and look at the whole political system as something that must be not only taken apart, but we need our full-on active involvement. Hard Lens Media will not, ever, give full endorsements to any politician or party. We encourage you to do your own work, your own research, and make up your own choice. We said in 2024 we're not endorsing anybody, and we haven't. I encourage all of you to vote however which way you want to feel, and if you didn't want to vote, that's good too. That's what matters to me. But when you have a platform of millions of subscribers, and then you take it upon yourself to start dictating what is what, because I remember those past 8 years. 8 years in the trenches, 8 years of seeing a lot of people get attacked and smeared. I remember this. I got that 1,000-mile stare, coach. And I remember the whole game being played out in a different way. And now that things have, well, made a unique turn after November 5th, 2024, it's abundantly clear to me that all those who were in positions of power need to reevaluate. So all this talk about TYT going to the right, it's not a right shift. What it is okay, we lost the majority of our audience. How do we rebuild or regain, or either that fortify what we have left? Because every prediction that TYT has made has failed miserably. It has. That this is abundantly clear. It's not about how they ran their business. It's not about how they were doing anything. It's just what they did with their power, what they predicted, and how they failed. They haven't had a big win. And not to mention all the super PACs around, or use that, the organizations surrounding TYT, like Wolfpack, I believe, Freedom PAC, I think that's one of them. And then, of course, there was Justice Democrats. All these little experiments were failures. And how could we ever forget the epic 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, in which Jenk was promoting his own team of investigative journalists? raised $2 million from the audience at the height of also at the same time getting that $20 million Katzenberg cash. I mean, a lot of people were raising an eyebrow, then starting to waving the red flags and raising the alarm bells. Savvy has infinite patience. And so I encourage everyone to check out the full video. I'll be posting a link in the description box. I think it's very thought-provoking and very engaging. But it's clear to me that Jenk is trying to rebrand himself, trying to start again, and everyone deserves a second chance, don't they, Bobby? Well, probably, maybe, yes, no, who knows? But you can't fall for the same trick over and over again, because what I recall, even in 2024, we got to help out the Democrats. We got to stop Trump. But it's more than just Trump. It's about actually fighting the Democrats that even if you think have a chance, no, you got to stand against it. And this goes back to my point with AOC. I see the foundations being laid out, and I hope I'm wrong. But I see the game being set up to where we have a Bernie Sanders 3.0 movement. I see it. And I see there being a primary. The Democrats are going to try and find their neoliberal corporate stooge that's going to be very popular and pragmatic. And they're going to have AOC there to get people hyped up. And as soon as AOC loses the primary or goes to a contested convention, she's going to be telling people, we got to support Democrats. And everybody and their mama and the vote blue, no matter who industrial complex is going to be doing this. And we could see 2016 playing out again, because I'm seeing these crowds come in. Bernie and AOC are bringing in the people. But it's hopium. It's copium. And there's a lot of people, especially for those who want to do independent media, that will capitalize on people's hopes, their dreams, and say, yes, listen to me, and this is why you shouldn't listen to anybody else. I'm going to give this one last statement here on this, and then we're going to move on, because I understand how people feel about TYT. Yesterday, I was on Matt Weinglass's show, and we talked about a potential AOC run and how it could potentially be like how TYT jumped on board the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016, and they grew in growth. But I recall saying this to Matt, and I think Cheese Slice is definitely going to clip it. I said to Matt, do you have any idea how much crap we're going to get by being critical of AOC in 2028? Can you imagine what's going to come down our way if it truly is a perfect storm? It's going to get ugly. And so all this talk about Jenk working with people, press X to doubt.
Calling every foe synthetic leftist and progressive lover. Summoning the simps of all the squad adjacent opportunist two-faced cop suckers. Paging every democratic yes man in possession of a smoother brain than those who hide behind Biden's stutter. Welcome to the super edgy independent news you can trust when we say we don't sell our standards out like all the others. Trust us when we tell you that we're looking out for working class America, holding all the powerful accountable. Trust us when we tell you that a host of vital truths are being covered, when honestly the truth is being smothered by a couple disingenuous hacks sent to act in bad faith by Big Brother, who start smearing every journalist who bears the credibility they covet from their gilded fucking neoliberal centerpiece. Air out all their jealousy and spite like it might yield them some validity, or paint a coat of pity over all of their acidity. But they've been busy cozied up to every war pig living between here and the infinity. Albright, Biden, Obama, God, that's gotta take the fucking trophy for unholiest of trinities. So I hope you didn't come to witness anything resembling integrity. That's been long abandoned. Now we see integrity as often as Atlantis. Now they only toe the line and read what they've been handed. Safe to say if Jenk sunk any lower, he'd be deeper than the Marianas. TYT will tell you how opinions aren't the facts unless they're Jenk Saranas. Since they chose to make a living out of licking boots and shilling, you can bet they make a killing. TYT is proud to say they traded all their spines away to empty out the till and tell themselves it's decent work and it's an honest tilling. Well, me, I see they found a way to rape the willing. Me, I read between the lines, and in the script I see the signs that those who fund their message down to every filthy dime would gladly bleed a human sea if it prevents a drop of oil spilling. And yet somehow they portray themselves the heart of the progressive movement. The loudest voices calling for some unity with those who built careers around destroying unions. Which might be true, since unity is something truly useless and symbolic, like a stale communion. Tasteless is the times they tried to fight back, smile smearing Julian. And I hope Jenk and Anna listen up and listen well. You will never be a fraction of the journalist Assange has been, even from his cell. All the filth you spread around, you spread it on yourself. That's my time. Fuck you twice. See you both in hell.